Pulp MX Network production.
Bringing you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly. It's the LVK More Than Moto podcast with your hosts, Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Leatt LVK More Than Moto podcast. I'm Kellen Brauer, joined by Phillips, and we have breaking news, quite literally, as we record this show, as KTM has officially just announced Eli Tomac joining the program. Jorge Prado is back. Obviously, Aaron Plessinger and Julian Beaumer are still there, but this just comes a day after more news. Chase Sexton joining Monster Energy Kawasaki. Garrett Marchbanks will be his 450 teammate, and of course, all the PC riders announced below that as well. So a couple big days of news, Big Lou, to go off of. First of all, how are you doing on this Tuesday? WSX coming up. It's frantic times right now.
It really is. Of course, we had Chase, which we knew was coming. We've just had Tomac, which we knew was coming. I've just found out I'm going to WSX. Did not know that was coming. It's a Viva la Argentina, I guess. I'm flying tomorrow. Catch the fever.
Oh, man. I was trying to think today of, like, in the past when I was growing up and you'd hear these big news be dropped, like how exciting or interesting it would be. But nowadays, with how much information gets out, how much we already know this stuff has been brewing, like, what is your feeling this week? Like, it used to be almost like Christmas Day when these things would get announced, because it'd be like, oh, look at all these new photos, and I didn't expect that move to happen or whatever. But we've known this for so long, so does it feel a little subdued to you?
Oh, that's hard to say. Somewhat, maybe. I mean, the real attraction now is just the first photo, isn't it? Because that is truly the one thing that none of us see, no matter if you're super connected or not. So there is that element, which is exciting and important, but then equally, Chase on a Kawasaki didn't blow my wig back. I wasn't like, oh my God, this looks incredible. And the same with Eli on a KTM. So perhaps my reaction to those photos was subdued. Eli especially. Eli looks exactly as I would have expected on a KTM. Like, in my mind, even the style of whip, the angle of the whip, the photo angle, it's all exactly as I dreamed up. So, yeah, I mean, it's just nice to have it out there more than anything, isn't it? Because how many times have we gone around in circles speculating and theorizing this move? It's nice just to have it out, and now we can unpack it properly.
Yeah, the Tomac thing, to me, the photos of him riding look totally normal to me. I don't know why, but you're right. It doesn't hit the same way. The photo of him in a Red Bull KTM hat, I don't know. That's one of those things where, especially you think about where his mindset was with KTM as a program, especially going back to 2017 when he fought Dungey and the things that he said and all of those things, and now to be wearing that hat. I know it's 8 years later and time changes and all this stuff like that, but it's just crazy to see an image of Eli Tomac with Red Bull KTM emblazoned above his head. He changes, obviously, energy drink brands for the first time since 2016 when he joined Monster Energy Kawasaki. So, yeah, like there's a lot to unpack with this. We'll get into it all, but that one image is the one that so far has really been like, oh, for me.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, my biggest surprise is I believe we've all been under the assumption that the KTM is a smaller bike, and Chase, once he made the move from Honda, looked bigger on a KTM than he ever did on a Honda. So with that in mind, I expected Eli to look bigger, both stood behind the KTM and on it. But to be honest, the measurements look quite equal. So I'm surprised that he doesn't look... I expected him to look really beefy and almost like he was a monkey riding a bicycle, but not at all. Or an elephant riding a bicycle, whatever that is.
Here's a little brain exercise for you to do then. Go look at other pictures of him either riding the Kawi or the Yamaha and think of how we know Eli Tomac, as you said, looks like a bigger rider the way that he rides the bike and stuff. I would argue that those pictures of him never really look like he's that big on the bike, but then when you watch videos of him riding, he looks large, like overbearing on the bike. And then when you stand next to him, it's not like he's 6'3" or something. Like, he's about our height, maybe a slightly taller than us. So I think it's what's misconstrued about that is that he's actually not that big of a dude, but the way that he rides definitely has a bigger emphasis or overbearing look on the machine.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't know what that would be attributed to. That seems quite bizarre. I can't think what the context or the explanation behind that would be. But that does make some sense. I mean, I just never thought I'd see this in my lifetime, to be honest. Tomac on a KTM, who would have thought?
Definitely
the weird one is Prado. Prado, the Whoop photo especially, like I stare at that, and that just isn't Prado to me. Like through and through, I just look at it and my brain can't compute that it's Prado. Not sure why. The very yellow-orange gear with black boots is also a little odd. It's a bit too orange. It kind of calls back to the Justin Hill look. Am I not wrong? Like,
no, I mean, you're right.
I don't know if it was a photo shoot or whatever, but I do recall a Justin Hill orangey yellow KTM gear, or Fox gear on a KTM, sorry.
Yeah, honestly, it almost kind of reminds me, I was thinking like maybe a skinnier version of Dunge, obviously, with the gear and everything, but it kind of reminds me of that year Marv was in Fox.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
You know what? I completely forgot that we actually have had Fox riders on a KTM a lot between Dunge and Marv and Justin Hill, but for some reason it just feels like a very Alpine Stars team as of late, mainly because of Chase and Eli.
Yeah. Or Thor, because Webb and AP for so long carried with the Thor.
You just don't think of Thor. Thor doesn't resonate. So, like, if anything, we should associate KTM with Thor because of Marvin, AP, Webb. There's probably more. But for whatever reason, their marketing or the gear, or I think it's the marketing, you just don't think of Thor ever. It never jumps to mind as like, oh yeah, remember when so-and-so was there with Thor, you know? Like, no.
Well, this goes off tangent of all the things we want to talk about today, but whatever, I don't care at this point. Thor said goodbye to Hayden Deegan, obviously, last week, because we expect his Fox deal to probably be announced tomorrow. And as you mentioned, Thor hasn't really, at least in my opinion, and yours, hasn't jumped off the page of late. It hasn't had this really big brand identity, and now they're losing their most marketable star, arguably. Where does Thor sit in this echelon now? Because they lost Cooper Webb. He goes to Fly, wins a Supercross championship. They still have some big names, but it doesn't feel as big as it was, like especially a couple years ago when they had guys like Prado and Cairoli and Webb and all these, and obviously Deegan coming. So they're in a bit of a lull right now, no?
Yeah, look, I mean, you think if they lost Webb, isolated, you're like, yeah, whatever, that happens. And then you think they lost Deegan, isolated, you're like, yeah, that happens. But then when you put the two together, losing Webb and Deegan in the space of 12 months is kind of their flagship guys, isn't it? Like, they have, okay, who do they have now? AP and the Star 250 program. Is there anyone else? I think they have AEO. Is there anyone else?
I'm sure we're missing somebody that's obvious and will jump off the page and hit us in the face. But yeah, I don't know. Like,
I don't think we are.
Who runs them in MXGP now? Anybody?
Triumph.
Oh, Triumph. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, even that. Then? They lost Prado. They lost Dakali. Dakali. They were Dakali, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
See, even that similar thing to resonating. My head knows it that Thor were with Dakali, but for some reason my subconscious just can't picture it or put it together. Don't know why that is. Weird. And then reportedly they're losing Cairoli for next year, so a lot happening.
Yeah, a lot happening for sure. Aside from just the gear deals, let's get into the show. Let's get into the meat of all this, the announcements and everything that's gone on today. Before we do that, I want to tell you about Leatt. At Leatt, protection is in our brand DNA. It started 20 years ago with the groundbreaking Leatt neck brace and continues today with an extensive product offering of protective gear and riding apparel. But what Leatt really stands for is inspiring confidence and ensuring safety with every ride. So check out their Moto 9.5 carbon helmet, their X-Frame knee brace, casual wear, and more at leatt.com. Again, thanks for backing the show. All right, let's just lead off with Tomac. I know we've kind of already gone through it a little bit, but just the waves of how we get here, what the expectation is now that we are here, because this is a multi-year KTM deal. This is not going to be the last year of his career. We've gone through all these stepping stones of, is he retiring? Is he not retiring? Signing one-year deals. Now he signs a multi-year deal with KTM. So, yeah, let's just lead off with how we got here. obviously the jumping through the hoops of how many years is he going to go, and then he elects that he wants to keep going for a long time. Are you surprised, in essence, that we're in 2025 at the end of it, and Tomac is still considering 2 more years of racing?
Well, we all know through the grapevine that it's a multi-year deal, but I'm just going through the PR again now. I can't see any wording or verbiage that says multi-year or alludes to anything beyond 2026, and that's true of Prado as well.
But they don't say that about... No, but they don't say that about any of those guys, and I'm pretty sure Juju signed a longer-term deal than this. AP's is up after this year, but I don't think that they're a clean slate after 26.
Okay, that makes some sense. What was the question? Sorry, I was just locked in on the multi-year thing.
Just your level of surprise that we're going into 2026 and he's going to sign a multi-year deal.
I mean, someone did make a point to me earlier. Tomac is only 32. We talk about him like he's 40. When you think he's only 32, it's like, yeah, he could. When you consider he's 32 now, I guess I should probably double check this rather than taking.
No, he is. He says it says it in the PR, but also another thing to your point about that is why he feels so much older. And this goes back to Jeremy McGrath's logic, which is like everybody has their decade in the sport, their decade in the sun, if you will, where they're winning races and championships and everything's fantastic. Well, Eli Tomac entered in 2010 and won right away and started winning Supercross titles pretty much right away, like going into 2011, 2012, wins an outdoor title in 2013, moves up to the 450 class, starts winning there pretty quickly, wins his first outdoor title in 2016, 2017. So I think that the problem that we have here is that he's been winning for so long that it's almost unfathomable to think that he's still not as old as some of these other guys on the track who took longer to get to that point.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, but I think it's more down to the fact that he's talked about retirement for so long, done these 1-year deals, that we just presume he's hanging on by a thread. When realistically, he could be in the midst of multi-year deals quite easily right now. I would lean more towards that, but your point is also true. He's kind of been the guy ever since he was a guy. He's never been a guy. I think it's good that he's got the stability. I'm interested to see what his persona, I guess, is at Anaheim 1 without that hovering over him, you know? Because so much of his narrative in recent years has been, is this the last one? What are you going to do? And there's evidently been some trepidation from his side, some uncertainty about what he wants to do. So what happens when Tomac doesn't have that hanging over him? That has to be a relief, and that has to maybe change his way of just presenting himself at the races. Does that mean he's going to come out and be better than ever? It could. I don't think it will, because, I mean, we've seen Tomac be amazing. So I don't necessarily believe there's another step to unlock. But that doesn't mean that I think that he'll take a backward step with KTM. For the most part, I think it's difficult because, obviously, he was amazing at the start of 2025 Supercross, but then that was also a very small sample size. If anything, I probably lean more towards 2024 Supercross with occasional wins. I know we only won one last year, but occasional wins, sporadic, and 3rd to 7th place rider.
Yeah. How about this then? I want to ask this because I'm kind of curious about how this mentality switch might affect him a little bit. When he was at Star, he was the guy, should have been the guy, was the guy, whatever you want to call it, when he went there. He was going to be the guy that carried Yamaha back to winning ways, and he did. And then it slowly became, well, he's the guy, but we need to focus on the next. We're focusing on, we need to have Cooper Webb on this program because he could also be a guy for us. And then he goes out and wins the Supercross title. They're focusing on Hayden Deegan, bringing up to a 450. So in a way, I don't want to say he got lost in the shuffle, but he kind of became one of another of the big names there instead of the big name. Whereas at KTM, and no disrespect to Aaron Plessinger, who's obviously a race winner, and no disrespect to Jorge Prado, who's a multi-time champion, but it seems as though he's going to KTM with the onus that he will be the guy, right? Like, they're going to pay him the big bucks. They're going to give him kind of number one status, if you will, over there. How do you think that affects not only Tomac's mentality of like his approach and the support that maybe he feels from the team, but also from the KTM side, the fact that they're relying on the guy being a 32-year-old, guy that hasn't won a title in a few years.
Yeah, well, first of all, without doubt, he is the guy in Supercross. I guess you could debate it somewhat outdoors, but in Supercross, he is their great hope, their only hope. That is without doubt. We know that Tomac split from Gilly at Star because he didn't like sharing, and, clearly not being the clear-cut number one guy did bother him to a degree. So with that in mind, you would think that he's very happy in his KTM situation. And evident by the cable clutch, I do believe the KTM will bend over backwards to give him what he wants to make sure the guy is comfortable. For KTM, so what I heard is this is obviously a big money deal. Of course it is. It's Tomac. Wherever he went, it would have been big money. But I think he really had KTM over a barrel a little bit because they had no other option. If they didn't get Tomac, it would just be a Prado AP team, I think, and that isn't going to move the needle, especially in comparison to KTM's lineups since 2012. So this was really KTM's only option. A little bit of desperation, maybe. Would they have rather kept Chase? Without knowing for sure, I would say probably yes. I mean, you'd rather keep a Chase who's at his peak without doubt rather than Eli who's trying to find his peak. But considering they could have ended up with no one, it's not a bad place to be, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, in the end, I think that they ended up with, I don't know if the word super team is really useful here, especially with how much Prado has to rebuild, but you go back a couple years ago and you say that Tomac, Prado, and Aaron Plessinger are going to be on the same team, and I think you'd probably be like, okay, good. So I think that they did well with all the shuffling pieces that they had. Obviously, I think that they would like to have kept Tom Vial too, but that's the way it goes when you're trying to spend an arm and a leg to move a couple other guys over here to your program. So that's just the way it goes. I also wanted to hit on the point that you mentioned there, which is, yes, the cable clutch is on this KTM. It's going to be talked about to no end because it's been a hydraulic clutch for a long time there, but they have moved mountains to make it happen for Eli, and apparently it's the biggest deal ever. How much more do you think they'll bend, if you will, compared to the past seasons? Because Cooper Webb famously had a lot of turmoil, if that's fair to say, there with trying to get things the way that he wanted to be. And then even when he left, he had some rather funny remarks or faces to things that Chase had to say once he went there about how much they would change for him. And then Chase goes there and it sounds like all he did was test and change this and change that and want to do this and that. So is it almost free range for Tomac? Do you think that almost anything he wants to try, they're going to be like, yeah, why not?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to clarify they are bending to a degree because he's not going to Baker's. And he's equally not going to be in Southern California full-time. So that is KTM bending because they've always had guys at the very least in Florida or California. Tomac will put the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit there. I think they will be willing to bend, but from what I know, there will be WP on that bike front and back. And it's staying that way. Also because supposedly Tomac's very happy with what the WP offering is. So I don't expect to see KYB. I don't expect to see any drastic changes like that. But let's say it gets to the position where he wants it. I would think they would do it. But I think it's kind of off the table for now, which is interesting in itself. And I think that's why there's value in this completely new start, because I think the relationship with Chase and Tom to a degree was so tainted that neither side could see the wood from the trees. Everything just was murky and had this poor taste hanging over it, whereas Tomac is coming in with a fresh perspective, no preconceived notions, no negativity or bad taste from previous experience. And I think that will allow them to kind of correct course a little bit and charge on.
Yeah, I can agree with that because, I do think that, as you mentioned, because this is such a big money deal, because this is so much of it weighing on the fact that this needs to work, I think that they're going to probably try whatever they can to make him happy. Short of, as you said, I don't think they're going to jump around and do different suspension and all this stuff like they did with Chase necessarily, but I do think that maybe Eli's going to be a little bit better to adapt to that stuff as well, especially since he's jumped manufacturers now 3 times in his 450 career. So perhaps that'll be a little bit easier transition. Last thing I'll ask for you, we now see how the personnel changes have affected different people throughout these team switches. Chase has very openly explained that he didn't really feel like he gelled with Ian and Roger as much as maybe he expected to. But on the flip side, if you look at Tomac, his mannerisms, the way that he works, and the fact that they're going to let him kind of do what he wants from a training standpoint, do you not feel that Ian Harrison and Roger DeCoster are almost the perfect fit for Tomac? The way that they approach things, the professionalism that they have about handling things, and obviously Roger being an old school racer, I think Tomac kind of likes that, no?
Yeah, I think they're both very old school, aren't they? I think Tomac is fairly old school in his mannerisms and his way of working as well. I mean, it's hard to say at this point. I don't think you've ever entered a team deal or a new team deal and at this point being like, these people aren't going to work well together. So time will tell. But yeah, at this point, I would argue that there seems to be positive signs that there won't be any true drama here. And truth be told, KTM needs this to be as smooth as possible. Because if there's another rider who ends up complaining and saying bad things and the relationship has clearly soured, that's Webb, Chase, and Tomac. I don't know how you recover from that. Similar, and again, I would say exactly the same stuff about Chase and Kawasaki. So yeah, it's almost make or break, do or die. More so from KTM's side than Tomac's, because Tomac's had a great career. KTM are in the middle of their career, if you want to put it that way.
Well, I mean, and you've mentioned this plenty of times, especially of late, of how much this is going to be looked at from an outsider standpoint as well, of how much does KTM make it work after things didn't end positively with Chase? Is it really going to be the bike? Are these guys all going to adapt to it as well? And then on the flip side with Cowie, I mean, it's only negative imagery really right now. There isn't much positives for Cowie to hang their hat on and say, oh, everything's great over here. So they also need things to work well. And that does segue into my next topic perfectly here. So before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Racetech. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern and vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance. Be sure to visit racetech.com for all their high-performance springs, gold valve kits, conversions, components, and more. You can visit racetech.com and put in your machine, and they'll tell you what they offer for you guys there. So thanks to Racetech for backing the show. All right, on to Chase Sexton's Cowie switch.
Hold on.
Okay, hit me.
Speaking of Racetech, it's kind of the only way I can figure out to fit this in, seeing as it is a joint sponsor. I am very, 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 very surprised of a reaction to the BMP LVK crossover. Okay, there were maybe 4 negative comments, but I feel like percentage-wise, I've never seen something get such overwhelming positive remarks. Like 99% positive, which I feel like normally the percentage rate is much lower. Very surprised. You?
No, I'm the same way, because I figured to some degree, a lot of the comments would be these guys are great, but why did you team up with this? Or vice versa, you know, like, oh, I really like Lewis, but why did you have to have Steve on this show? Which there is a comment or two of those. Or I really like DB, but Kellen sucks. And again, there's some of those comments too. Like,
yeah, to be honest, I just presume there would be like, we just want to hear what Steve and DB have to say. Why?
Right, yeah.
You know, like.
But no, you're right. It came out awesome. And obviously, as you mentioned, Racetech sponsors both of our shows, so appreciate their support with that. It was cool, though. I wish we could do it more. It's going to be tough to get all of our schedules to fit together, but it was cool.
Well, I don't get this. Steve is, every time I've mentioned doing it more, Steve is like, it's impossible to get us all together. But literally, it couldn't have been any easier.
Well,
right?
the one change was I had to move it back an hour, but that was it.
Yeah, but if the organization process is everyone agreeing on a time and then it being moved back an hour, I think that's fairly amazing. You know?
Yeah, but
it
we're also
really
in that
difficult at all.
We're also in the weird time where no one's really traveling except for obviously you this week, and then we don't really have much. We don't have much coming in the way of racing aside from WSX. So everyone's kind of chilling and has a little bit more free time. Whereas as soon as we're in season, dude, like DV is going to be working with his team this day, and then Weege's going to travel that day. It's just going to be too tough in season to do it, I think.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I still think we should do it like once every quarter.
I would be on board with that. And I do think that there's a way somehow, especially with how often Steve likes to do these live shows and stuff, that we just figure out how to do it in person almost.
Well, I don't think Blair will be there if we do it in person.
I could be. He's gone to a couple races. He hangs low because obviously his video has made people pretty frustrated within the higher echelon of the industry, but he does go to some. So
it is true though. It could actually be quite a good live show format.
Yeah. All right. But very cool. Awesome race tech again to back both shows. Let's get into the second topic here, which is Chase Sexton going to Cowie. Again, I mean, of all the offseason moves, maybe the one that everybody knew about the most beforehand. Like, this has been since March, April that they were talking. I don't know officially when he probably signed the deal, but I have to imagine it wasn't that far after that. And yeah, now he's on a Cowie, which he has come out and said everything's great as per usual. These guys are all so happy with their new bikes and yada, yada, yada. But as you mentioned, the reactions to him seeing on the bike the first time didn't really blow your wig off. It wasn't something that shocked you. Almost looks natural, safe to say, that he's on that machine.
Yeah, but is that just because we've seen Chase on a Honda, then a KTM, then a Kawasaki? So we're kind of a little more immune? I don't know.
It could be, but I also do think that he fits the bike maybe a little bit better. KTM, so I remember asking Chase
He always looks big on a KTM.
He did always look big on a KTM, and I remember specifically asking him when he went to KTM about his rider triangle and how he felt like he fits in the seat and the slot of the bike and everything like that. And he told me that he likes that it rides high because he's a bit taller and stuff like that. And then all he's talked about on the Cowie so far is how much he likes that it sags in the rear and he can ride it a little bit with the rear steer and stuff like that. So I think maybe he was looking for a little bit different feel on the KTM that he could never really get. But I do feel that the Cowie frame and rider triangle looks better for him there.
Honestly, the hardest thing that I found to get used to with Chase was the Monster logos reappearing. The Monster hat and all of that was odd to me, and I don't know why, because again, we saw that not too long ago, but yeah, that really was the oddest part for me.
You see how many people already have said, oh, look at that, the hat's on forwards.
Yeah, I was expecting that. I don't know. If anything, if I'm Monster, I'm telling him to put the hat on backwards because at least it gets people talking about a hat that is otherwise not mentioned.
I mean, the thing about that whole thing is that when he turned his Red Bull hat around, there was still a Red Bull logo on the inseam on the left side of the hat, so it still was showing the signage. And if he did that with Monster, it'd be the same thing. So I don't know, it's not anything about I'm disrespecting the brand or anything. It's just how he would like to wear his hat. Anyway, so he did go on PulpMX last night. We're obviously on the PulpMX channel, so you can go listen to that interview if you'd like. He had a lot of interesting things to say, so I kind of want to run through a couple things that he went through about it. First of which, he got asked about whether or not Cowie would support him at donations, and he said that was kind of like a big talking point of when he went to them and trying to get it in his contract, and they said as of now that they are willing to do it. So reactions to that, because I didn't think Cowie would ever want to go overseas again.
No, they would have had to do it with Chase. You can't. It's too. They were always saved with Eli a little bit because I think we all know that Eli for a period there had lost interest. But Chase, of all the American riders, I think Chase has spoken out the most enthusiastically about the nations and wanting to do the nations, and it's a priority. So if Chase suddenly didn't reference the nations at all for the next couple of years, I think everyone would have known that the change has come from Kawasaki. So in my mind, there's no way for Kawasaki to continue skipping it without it being a major black mark on their record. Whereas for the late 2010s, I do to a degree say, well, I don't think Eli necessarily wanted to go either. So that's what you get.
Do you think that makes Eli, or I guess anybody else that would have been eligible to go for Cowie in the past, look a little sus?
No,
I guess
no, it's too far in the past.
AC declined to go. Well, AC declined going when he was moving to a 450 when he was a 250 champ, but I think that made sense. But then, I guess that's too far in the past. A different regime a little bit, even though it's still Dan Fahey in charge, maybe a bit different.
No, the sports
I don't know the
on.
way that they run things at Cowie.
Tomac at Kawasaki is ancient history at this point. No one even really remembers it.
Okay, so then Chase also said, and again, early days, he hasn't been riding the bike like forever or anything, but he says that Cowie's been quite open to his ideas, things that he's wanted to change, and that his time at KTM, because he was testing almost all the time, he's learned a lot about what he likes and what he wants to do with the bike and everything like that. How true do you think that is? Like, how true do you think that his time at KTM has made him like maybe a better tester and he's going to be able to lock this thing down quicker? And also to the thought of Cowie maybe even being more open to moving stuff around.
I think that without doubt, he is a better test rider now than he was when he joined KTM. I think that is certain. And I think not only is he a better test rider, I think that he has a better understanding of what he wants from a bike. Again, all of this is naturally going to come from the amount of work he had to do to the KTM. Time will tell on the Cowie side. I mean, it's great right now, but what if Chase wants a drastic move that is far from what they consider the norm or what they want to do? That will be the true test if we get to that point. But I would think Kawasaki would do it because they have to. If Chase, exactly what I said about Tomac and KTM, if Chase starts complaining, pointing fingers, there's clearly animosity between the team and rider, that is catastrophic for Kawasaki. So, blanket statement, KTM and Kawasaki need to do everything in their possible power to make their respective 2026 lineups work. Because otherwise, they may start a 10-year cycle of rebuilding and it will be impossible until a new generation comes along.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's fair, but I also do think that, you know, there's going to be a lot of hurdles that they'll probably jump through, especially because Chase also mentioned a lot about the freedom and wanting to kind of do his own program the way that he wants to and set things up the way that he wants to. And not that he was totally held within a box at KTM, but there were times that they wanted to rein him in and go to Baker's and do this and that. So do you not feel that if Chase does this, here's still his practice bike mechanic. He's going to go train at Jack Chambers' house. He's literally building his own recipe for success, which could go great. But on the off chance that it doesn't work, how much does this, I guess, reflect on you also do need that structure and someone from the team to kind of almost guide you in the right ways at sometimes too, no?
I don't know. Again, you could say that exact thing about Tomac, because I don't think he's going to be hand in hand with Ian and Roger 24/7, and he's not going to be at Baker's either. So Eli is different circumstances, of course, but Eli is doing the Chase program at KTM to a degree. Fair? So then what does that say about
yes.
Eli?
Yeah.
And then Deegan supposedly wants to break free a little bit. So like that is becoming more and more prevalent. I think it's only Webb who's kind of slotted back into, I mean, Webb was doing it. Webb is the only one who's kind of slotted back into a team regime.
It is becoming more prevalent. You're right about that. But also
it looks all pretty with Honda HRC because
with
Hunter and Jet are there. But that's just because they're brothers. That's not necessarily a HRC thing. It's just they are doing their own thing. It just looks like a team thing because the team is there.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right, but that's how they're structured, and it obviously works for them. It's not going to work for everybody. And
I think we're lagging or something. I don't know.
I think we are lagging a little bit. You're lagging really hard on my screen.
Because every time I stop talking, there's like a 3 or 4 second delay. To the point that you mentioned about Tomac specifically. Just talk.
Well, no, when you started talking, you were talking in the middle of something I was saying. Okay, so anyway, to the point of Tomac, as you mentioned, he is doing his own program, but I think the difference with Chase versus Tomac in this specific situation is that Tomac's recipe for success, if you will, has been proven to work. Staying in Colorado, doing that thing, working with his dad, falling off the face of the earth, then coming out and winning races has worked. But Chase is trying to build his own recipe that to this point you could argue hasn't been locked down perfect. Like he has gone away from the program and then come back and gone away, and nothing has like ever really seemed to like stabilize into something that Chase, this is exactly what I want, this is how it's going to be, and maybe this does work, but that's why I'm saying it might reflect on him bad if it doesn't work this time.
Yes, but there isn't actually an alternative though, because Kawasaki don't have a compound, they don't have a program, they don't have a team trainer, they don't, so actually, well, like, what is Chase expected to do? There is not an alternative.
There's not. You're right, but I think he's going to have to probably button down a little bit more than he's ever really realized he's going to in this situation. Like he's going to need to make decisions on his own that if the team really wants to make stuff happen, they would have told him to do it. But if Chase is going to want all this freedom, he's going to have to kind of steer things in the direction that he wants to. And then if he starts struggling and he says the bike doesn't feel right this way, it doesn't feel right that way, all Cowie has to say is, well, you wanted this. Like this is, you told us to go this way. So that's what I mean. Is that I think that not that he's setting himself up for failure, because I do think that this could work. So
yeah, but I don't understand. Again, I don't understand what you're saying. He's not. How is he setting himself up for failure when there isn't an alternative? If Kawasaki had a compound like Star and Chase was at Chambers, then yes, he is choosing a path. But Kawasaki are ultimately like, pick somewhere to work out of. You know, like there isn't an alternative. His alternative is staying in California full time and riding Hemet. Like there isn't an alternative. So how is he possibly setting himself up for failure or putting himself in a box? Because what has he said no to in order to do what he's going to do? Nothing.
But you can't say that about Cowie. They have like 5 tracks out there. He's not going to ride Hemet. He'll ride it one time, but that would be the alternative. They have all the tracks out there. They've had this almost work in the past before. Yes, Villapoto, if you want to go way back, did go away from training and testing in California all the time and built his own facility, and that worked. But that's Ryan Villapoto. Is Chase Sexton that? In Colorado. Maybe, but I think we'll have to see.
Tomac was in Colorado.
Yes, but from the start, Tomac didn't. In 2016, Tomac did not go right to the California regime. He went and said, "I want to do this Colorado thing," and Cowie said, "No problem," and it worked.
I'm so confused what you're saying. That's what Chase is doing.
I know, but I'm saying if it doesn't work for
Chase, whilst also saying that everyone else has ever done this in life.
No, I'm not.
I don't understand.
I'm not trying to say something bad about Chase.
I literally have no fucking idea what your point is at all. Literally no idea. Not even a 1%.
It really doesn't help that we're. It really doesn't help that we're lagging so much, because I feel like I'm trying to finish my points and you react to them, but instead you just stew on them for about 4 seconds because I'm ending a sentence. Anyway, let's move on from this because I don't want to dive so much into the semantics of what could go wrong with Chase. It's not really what I was trying to do. But anyway, it is cool to see him on that bike. It's cool to see that he's kept all of his sponsors. He's going to, I think, be a little bit happier there than at KTM because I think he's going to mesh better in general with those people. And Cowie needs it. Cowie needs a success story given what happened last summer, and obviously that they haven't really been in a championship scenario since maybe 22 with Anderson, but even before that, it's been a while. So they have to turn things around. Let me tell you guys about Namura. Namura Technologies has been a trusted name in performance engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 20 years. From complete rebuilds to high-performance upgrades, Namura delivers precision-engineered parts built to perform under pressure. Their expanding lineup includes cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and now cylinder kits, all designed to meet or exceed OEM specifications. Find full product details and application coverage at Namura.com. All right. My last topic, and I do not want this to be a long topic, but it is an interesting point because there's a couple things from the KTM PR that I wanted to pull out and talk about. Jorge Prado does go back to Red Bull KTM. That was, again, something that a lot of us kind of knew was going to happen when the Cowie relationship was getting so fractured. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more behind the scenes of this, because it sounds like it's almost nothing deal, less than what Vial was going to make going there. And because he fractured his Cowie deal, the Fox deal maybe took a hit as well. Obviously, he jumps from Monster to Red Bull. Monster was going to pay him an arm and a leg to stay there. He broke out of that deal to then go back to Red Bull. So monetarily, he took a massive hit here, no?
I guess it depends what your definition of massive is, but yeah, he took a big hit. Obviously, you can see in the KTM announcement that his trademark Fox pink look is gone to fit the KTM guidelines to a degree. We're back to like orange and yellow, as we said off the top. So that, I think, impacted his Fox salary, the fact that he doesn't have the freedom to do cool projects and whatever else. Equally, I think pink would have looked weird on a KTM, so it probably wouldn't have worked anyway. But I don't know. I haven't heard that his deal was less than what Vial was offered. I just presumed it was what Vial was offered, maybe a little less. Yeah. He has definitely taken a bit of a hit. Bet on himself, you could say.
Yeah. No, I mean, he went back to a brand that, if you want to say this, he kind of scorned on his way out a little bit. He had some things to say about the way that bike felt and not feeling comfortable enough, especially in Supercross, to maybe race it that way. But he's back, so we'll see how that goes. But I did want to, as I mentioned, go to the PR, and specifically Ian Harrison had this to say, and I think it is a perfect juxtaposition as to, as I mentioned earlier, Tomac being the number one guy there and how they view it, because Ian Harrison said, "It is always interesting to bring in a rider such as Eli, who we have raced against over the last decade, and we've always looked for ways to beat him, but now we are focusing on how we can support him to win. I'm confident that our team and all of the riders will benefit from his experience and maturity." Jorge, on the other hand, had been in the KTM family for a long time with a lot of success in Europe prior to this season. He trained alongside our team at the beginning of 2024, so for us, it is an opportunity to have him back where he feels most at home and help him achieve his goals in the United States. And maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I feel like that's Ian Harrison's way of saying, like, we've got work to do.
Wait, where did you get that from?
Really?
Yeah.
What, the quote?
No, where did you get the idea that they've got work to do? Highlight that point and quote to me.
Because he said, we've trained alongside with him. It's an opportunity to have him back where he feels most at home and to help him achieve his goals in the United States, which I feel is Ian saying, yeah, he had a lot of problems over at this other brand. I think we can bring him back into where he was, but I don't think that they just assume this is an overnight success.
I think that's Ian saying, yeah, he's come back here because he knows we're the best. He realizes that now. Welcome home.
Okay. All right.
I mean, he's not going to, he's not going to talk it up too much, obviously, because there is this Supercross element. There is this Supercross element hanging over him. So that they can't talk it up too much, because you cannot have the outdoor expectations fall on Prado in Supercross. They have to be compartmentalized into completely separate entities and ideas, and essentially two different riders. Supercross, Prado is a rookie doing his thing, finding his way. Outdoors, he is a world champion and he knows the way. So they need to be careful to tread that line. I mean, how about this for a question? Who's better in I think it's obvious. Who's better in Supercross, Prado or AP?
It's going to be AP, yeah.
Is it entirely off the table that Prado could end up being better than AP by the end of Supercross?
For me, yeah. I mean, AP not only is now a multi-time winner in 450 Supercross, but he built himself to a level on KTM where he was like pretty darn good dry or wet. And I know that his wins have come in more wet conditions, but he was battling for race wins on this bike in the dry too. And Prado, I mean, no disrespect, he hasn't proven any of that in the Supercross. So to say that he's going to go from, I've never really been able to sniff the top five, to I'm going to beat a guy that was battling for wins by the end of this season, I just don't see it.
No, fair. That is fair. But I guess I'm mainly asking the question because I don't think you can be certain what AP you're going to get, because it has fluctuated quite a lot year to year over the past 3 or 4 years, right? Like, it's not like he's been the race-winning contender guy without doubt the last 2 years. There have been highs and lows, and I think in the lower periods, Prado can match that. It's also funny, this struck me when I opened the PR. Plessinger's 450 career started terribly. The transition to KTM wasn't an immediate fix. It didn't really work straight away. Who would have thought that? Because I even remember Plessinger's first year on KTM, everyone kind of thinking like, well, he's going to be off of there as soon as the contract's up. Who would have thought that he'd be there for, what is this, 6 years? 5 years? Like,
yeah,
I don't know, it's quite
22. So
I
this
think
would be his 5th.
Yeah, like, who would have thought that he'd end up being at KTM so long?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought it was a bit of a match made in heaven for him there, personally, but I didn't know how much longer his career would go. I didn't know how it would pan out, and it's worked well. But I don't know that I'm sold that AP is still there after this year. I feel like obviously it's a 1-year deal. They extended it because of how things were going in Supercross, but I don't know that they really want to run 3 450s all the time. And I would assume that their goal is to have Tomac still with them in 27 and commit longer term to Prado. So, right, this would maybe be AP's last year with KTM.
Yeah, but then, in fairness, I feel like we could have said that every other year. It's always felt like AP is teetering on the edge a little bit with KTM. And I think, correct or not, KTM have kind of forced us to analyze it that way by the continuous re-upping of one-year deals. They've never really, at least recently, publicly come out and been like, AP is our guy, here's a 2-year deal. And I'm sure that to a degree, AP feels like that as well. So that encourages that line of thinking now, but also I think it's encouraged that line of thinking at this point in past seasons.
How about this? How does this team work together? Like, do you think that these three personalities, I know Tomac and Plessinger have history, so I think they'll be mostly fine. And for the most part, they all kind of just go to their own motorhomes and stay away from each other anyway. But, like, do you think that Prado's going to lean on Tomac a little bit? Will he be buddies with AP? Like, is there any sort of dynamic to be had here?
Prado and Juju will be best friends, as they kind of are already. And then AP will feed off of that energy and laugh and whatever else, and Tomac will barely be seen. And there's your team dynamic. I think that's quite clear. I think that's fairly clear cut.
No, I think that's probably exactly how it's going to go. The Plessinger and Tomac semis, or the motorhomes, will be backed up against each other right behind the semis. And Prado will just be in there eating a salad in the hospitality rig, probably.
Yep, yucking it up with Juju, who, by the way, this was important, I think. The PR did say that they do not expect Juju back until Pro Motocross.
Yeah, I mean, the burst fracture in his back is, to be honest, back by Pro Motocross still might be a question mark, in my opinion. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, but I think it's important because obviously the rumors started a couple of weeks ago and Juju commented somewhere with like a eye roll emoji or something. So that is at least some confirmation of what's going on with him. I mean, Ian said we don't expect him back until Pro Motocross. So that doesn't mean for Pro Motocross. I guess that could mean the end of Pro Motocross, you know?
Right.
No. For Pro Motocross would indicate he's going to be ready around 1. Until kind of indicates it could be any time in the Pro Motocross window.
True. Yeah. And I mean, look, this alongside the 3 450 guys already mentioned, the KTM rig will still be quite full, at least to start the year with the Coonins. So we're going to have 4 450s under the rig at A1, right? I
feel like the Coonins should have been mentioned in this PR, and now I hear that the Supercross plan is off for the start of 2026.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but there seems to be some murmurs that potentially it could be off.
I don't know that they would be mentioned because when Gas announced their program for 24, there was no sign of Prado in it.
Yeah, but Prado didn't commit Prado didn't commit to A1 until like December, and also when the team was announced, it was the Troy Lee team, so that meant Prado never would have been announced just purely on a contractual basis. Whereas I feel like they could have dropped the Coonins in here quite elegantly. But it sounds like it might not be as on as it was at Nation.
Pretty sure Prado had already committed to A1 before the TLD launch, because I think I filmed with him before the TLD launch. But maybe my
unless the TLD launch was really late, like December. Because remember, when Prado did his A1 announcement, it was done as a separate photo shoot at Angel Stadium.
No, I guess you're right, because he did that like the week before, but I thought that he'd already basically, like, he told us that that's what he was going to do before that. I have it on video, at least, that he said that he would do that. So I don't know. To me, the Coonins not being in this PR is not like, oh, they're not doing it. But you're right. I think there's a red flag a little bit, maybe.
There is at least some murmurs that maybe it's off, but I don't know.
Okay. Enough about KTM. I do still have one more topic, but I also want to give you your, stars in the shining here a little bit if you want something else to talk about. Before we do that,
stars in the shining?
Yeah. Before we do that, I do want to talk about Partzilla. Partzilla.com is a premier OEM parts dealer and distributor. They sell OEM parts for Honda, Kawasaki, Polaris, Can-Am, Suzuki, Arctic Cat, Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, and Yamaha motorcycles, ATVs, PWCs, and snowmobiles. Visit Partzilla.com to see their extensive line of parts and accessories. What do you got for me?
Well, I don't know what stars in the shining mean. I don't know what that means you expect from me.
I want you to give me your best shot at what we're going to talk about for the next 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, what was your other topic? Because the only logical thing I have in mind is... no, let's do WSX.
Okay, let's do WSX.
Because Marchbanks is easy. Logical option, 6 to 10 guy, reestablishes a pyramid system within Kawasaki, which is good. Not going to set the world on fire. He's going to be a Jake Weimer. He's going to be a Will Hahn.
I was going to say, the only reason, in my opinion, and I didn't get any confirmation on this, the only reason we don't have photos of him riding the bike yet is because his gear deal isn't done. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you have
that's true.
Yeah, okay.
That's
So
true.
yeah, that's
fact.
So for those people that were like, wow, he doesn't even get a photo shoot, he's just standing at the test track behind the bike and stuff like that. Literally, he's riding the bike, but his gear deal isn't done, so they're not going to do like a professional photo shoot until it is. So there you go.
Yeah. WSX. So round 1 is this weekend, but again, I don't know how to look at this championship because there must be an ad running on Instagram because I keep seeing it, but it's essentially Deegan versus Roxon. Who will win? Like, this is the hype. But neither rider is doing the full series. Not confusingly, because we know why, but when that is the headline item heading into round 1, it's confusing. And then I saw they did a predictions piece with DB earlier, where he picked his winners for each class and whatever else, and he picked Savachi. And it's like, well, you've not publicized Savachi at all up until this point, and now he's the champion-elect? So, like, this is a brilliant year for WSX, with Hayden and Tomac on a KTM, and Webb and someone else, J-Coop, I guess. I've got another point on J-Coop in a minute. But with all of that, it's great. And there's going to be notoriety, and I think that we're all going to be paying attention for that reason. Everyone in the industry, whether they're watching the race in full or checking results or whatever, WSX will be talked about this weekend because of Hayden Deegan. Fact. But that takes something away from the championship. Because realistically, the podium this weekend will probably be Roxon, Hayden, J-Coop. And none of those riders are moving on with the championship. I mean, Roxon is, but he's eventually going to fall out. And I just don't know how you present that. Like, there's a very realistic scenario where Roxon leaves Australia round the 3rd round, which I may be going to that as well. I'm waiting. I don't know what's going on in my life. But there is a very real scenario where Roxon leaves Australia with a red plate and then just isn't at the 4th round, the penultimate round, and then it's like, yeah, no, he's not here anymore. Red plate's up for grabs. And I just don't know how you present that in a way that isn't demeaning to the series.
Yeah, I still don't really understand why Roxon is not considered a wild card on their list compared to everybody else.
I think the rules have been thrown out a little bit because in the past you were only allowed 2 wild cards per event.
Oh, there's no rules anymore, dude. They're just no one knows. We're canceling one race. We're going to a new race at a venue that really hasn't been announced, and there's no fanfare behind it. It's just a location.
Oh well, I saw a photo of a track being built. It looks like
Buenos Aires, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a pop-up Supercross. Man-made grandstands. It looks legit. The build looks legit, but it looks small. Fair?
Yeah.
Not arena cross, but it doesn't look Anaheim 1 floor plan level. The dirt looks really hard. I'd imagine it's going to be very blue groove. And I heard that the promoter of the MXGP at Villa La Angostura is one of the men behind it. Promising, of course. Yeah. And that's all I've got. So my rant.
Okay, here we go.
And I'm going to get shit for this, but I don't care. So J-Coop posts his O'Neill gear on Instagram, and we are all losing our fucking minds. Just, wow. Argentina football kit, he's racing in Argentina. This is fucking incredible. And that's great. But Sua literally did it 5 years ago. Like, we've seen this. Why are we all acting like it's revolutionary? We have literally seen a Yamaha rider do this. But we're all acting like this is the most amazing thing ever. It's been done. And you can't tell me it was MXGP, no one cared, because I remember the fanfare around Sua's gear.
I think, unfortunately, I was going to mention your Jorge Prado article that went up on Vital before the announcement today, which was excellent, by the way. People should read it. Jorge Prado's second act, Bid to Reclaim Respect by Lewis Phillips. You're only as good as your last race. I think memory is very short term in motocross. So yes, I remember when Sewer ran the jersey. I'm pretty sure like Lars Van Berkel did it 2 years ago.
Yeah,
a couple other guys.
Right.
So yeah, I remember it, but I think most people are like, yeah, but that was so long ago. That happened ages ago that we just don't even care anymore. And now it's the next best, greatest thing. And maybe because it's an American doing it, it's different. I have no idea, but to me, I'm like, yeah, it's just the same thing again as you.
Okay, that's good. I just didn't understand the immense fanfare behind it because we've seen it. I'm trying to think of another example, but I can't. So, Deegan, does he win this weekend or does he not?
No, I don't think so.
Does he get on a podium?
Yes, but I have a sneaking suspicion that like he's going to like almost do too much, like push to try to win and have like a lot of little mistakes.
Well, I was going to say
weary of. Go ahead.
Is there a possibility that it's going to be RV Anaheim 1 2013? You know,
no, not
there's
that
going to
bad.
be fast, but there's going to be crashes and little mistakes, and in the end, he's gone 17-9-2 for 9th overall. You know, like is there a possibility that it's just going to be chaotic and a mess?
There's a possibility, but I don't necessarily see it going that way. I just think that in general, he will. Okay, let's say he starts like third, and it's Roxon right in front of him, and he's just surrounded by all these guys he's never raced before. I think he's going to get pushed around a little bit just because of who he is, and the guys around him probably wanting to prove a point. And then I think he's going to start riding a little bit over his head. And as you mentioned, because it's blue groove and slick and stuff, he's good in those conditions, but riding over your head also leads to small mistakes. And we've seen it before, especially in Supercross, that he's somewhat prone to that just a little bit. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's going to like cartwheel and get hurt or anything, but I do think that he's just going to have just enough of an off weekend that it doesn't put him on the top.
Okay. And do we care? Like, if he isn't on top, do we care? Is that like mass hysteria?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Here, I'll make a prediction. I bet he wins Super Pole, and everybody's going to hang their hat on that. Everyone's going to be like, look at how fast he is on a 450, dude. He's going to crush it, dude. It's amazing.
Amazing journalist that I am. Do they still do Super Pole?
I thought they did. I just looked at the schedule yesterday. I swear I saw it.
I can't remember, so I'm not saying you're wrong. I just didn't know.
Hold on. I'm looking at the schedule right now. Yep. SX1, SX2, practice qualifying, Super Pole. Hold on. Let me make sure it's like on this actual schedule for Buenos Aires, though.
Well, Jorge Prado was just posted on Instagram saying 2026 coming for you. So happy to join the KTM Factory Racing Squad.
Did you notice? I'm looking at the map for the Buenos Aires right now, and as you said, it's a pop-up Supercross.
Yeah.
So each grandstand that they're building is named after a rider. So behind the start gate is the Cooper stand. Then the first or the long rhythm section is the Deegan stand. And then the short rhythm section is the Anderson stand. And then out of turn one is the Roxon stand.
What's the problem with that?
I don't know. Like, that seems a little cliche. Like, we're going that far that we're just going to name each build after someone that's racing.
It's cliche, but I don't have a bad word to say about it because I can tell that there's positive intentions behind it, you know?
Yeah, all right, I'll allow it. Yeah, so Super Pole is not on their... Oh, no, it is. Sorry. It's before show opening. They have SX2 Super Pole and SX1 Super Pole, top four riders from qualifying at 7:16 and 7:24, and then an hour later is the show opening.
Ooh. So Super Pole is like a pre-show? Question mark?
Yeah, it literally happens 26 minutes after qualifying is over, SX2 Super Pole.
Well, I if I'm going, which I think I am, in 27 hours, I will be there not for the racing, but I will be there mainly to observe the way it's run, the way it's hosted, the mistakes, the benefits, the good ideas, the bad ideas, the mishaps, the missteps, because similar to my first couple of WSX appearances, who can forget my Abu Dhabi heroics, I'm just curious to see how it's run. And, like I've got experience, I can compare it to the MXGP. Fans are less into it, fans are more into it. A lot of fans, not many fans. There is actually a case study for motocross in this country. Admittedly, not in the Buenos Aires region, but you would think that in Buenos Aires it's going to be even bigger. Although the grandstands they're building don't look especially big, so that makes me wonder about the ticket sales. Yeah, I'm interested, very interested to see how this thing goes down. Or just how it's run, more so than the results.
Having been to the GP, and I mean, obviously aesthetically, it looks like they fill the hillsides there at the GP. Do you think that this is going to be like insane, like standing room only type of fans at this race?
I would say there's a potential for it, just because that's what it was like at the GP, and I don't see why it would work so well for the MXGP and not this, right? So why?
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a more mainstream location, so I don't see why there would be a big difference between the two, which again is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. I'm glad they got rid of the super final because no one cares. Like, no one cares about seeing 450s and 250s anymore. More often than not, it's just terrible. So we're done with that.
Do you think if Deegan had for some reason committed to racing a 250, they'd be like, hey, bring him back to super final. We want to see him up against these guys.
Maybe. I mean, they'll probably wheel Deegan out there for as many opportunities as they possibly can.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Putting in the effort for LVK is
yeah, you're going all the way to South America.
And then all the way to North America for Canada.
Canada.
Yeah, I don't know. And then maybe I'm going to Australia. No one knows.
No one knows. But we will probably know a little bit more next week.
Although I suddenly feel like the Epstein Bar's coming back.
Oh, God. You're probably just overthinking it because you don't want to get on a plane again. It's been a minute since you've been on a plane. Well, you just went to Steve's, so that before that it was.
It's been a minute since I did a long-haul flight.
Yeah,
although, big news, Platinum on Delta now is Lewis. So I booked a flight.
Are you getting upgraded?
Well, I don't know, because I don't even know if I'm confirmed. No one knows. 27 hours to go. I booked a flight for the Anaheim Media Days. Booked it, regular economy, whatever. Literally 10 seconds after I booked it, I got a notification saying you've been upgraded. Which is good. I like that. Yeah.
Look at you. Upper class.
Yeah, because normally you get upgraded at the final moment, don't you? I've never been upgraded that far in advance. Good.
Yeah, I think I've only been upgraded once, and it was like as you're about to step on the plane, pretty much. So
like when I got the notification saying I've been upgraded 2 months in advance, I was like, okay. Good to know.
Well, the fans of LVK will be sitting on the edge of our seats. Are you going to do anything special this weekend like you did for Nations? Potentially?
You want me to do a podcast? With who? Oh.
No.
What did I do special for Nations?
WhatsApp?
Kellen, the WhatsApp group is flying.
I've been reading it, but I don't know if you're going to like keep cramming it down us this weekend or not.
No, it's full time now.
All right.
It's full time. It's a 365 days a year thing. We're building people. I've had interest from a title sponsor. And,
I did hear that.
Yep. And if there's ever a proof that we can do more, it's that. So yeah, I've barely promoted it as well. I should promote it again, but I'm kind of waiting for the correct moment. I don't know.
Well, I was trying to like kind of segue into that for you, like maybe help you get people.
I don't know how people would find it without a link. Like I don't really know. I don't know if you can
just
search
put on
it.
Twitter. Can't you put on Twitter like a QR code for it or something?
Yeah, I'll do that at some point. But if you can search on WhatsApp, it's called LP's Inner Circle. You can turn notifications off or on, depending on what you want to know. But for instance, I put photos of Chase and Tomac in there the second it was announced because it's a very easy drag drop. I put in there some dates that you should be aware of. For instance, last week I said Chase Monday, Tomac Tuesday, Hayden Wednesday, and whatnot. I'm going to do what I will try and do at WSX is, you can do voice notes.
Yeah.
I'll do a little quick voice note with some riders about like first thoughts.
Very, very good, Lou. Good groundwork.
As I said on my one-on-one podcast with Steve, fuck me, don't say bad things about me just because I fucking care. Like,
words to live by right there. I think that's our show. I think that's all we got for you guys today. Obviously, big news week. More news still to come. I'm sure tomorrow we'll have the Deegan drop, and everyone will be talking about that. And then we'll.
Do we care though? I mean, it will be cool to see for like a second. Like, okay, cool, yeah. But like, it's not like like I know people who want to do podcasts reacting to this, and it's like there's not.
Is he going to have bedazzled boots?
I am curious to see what gear goes with those boots.
Yeah, I'm confused too. Hey. Whatever.
Also, I was thinking this. The last Fox rider on a Yamaha top rider was MC? Did MC put Fox on a Yamaha?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yes, he did for 1 year. Sorry,
Yes.
he did. 98. Top rider on a Yamaha to wear Fox.
I mean, apart from CDR in Australia.
Reed, when he went back there, was in Fox, but he wasn't really top at that point.
Was he Fox or Shift at that point?
No, he was Fox.
Okay,
they did a bunch of Fox collabs and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So it has happened fairly recently. But for the most part, Fox on a Yamaha is a rarity. Weird.
Yeah,
Weird.
It's true. I mean, we're a little jaded to it, though, because Craig was head to toe. So
oh, yeah, of course. I forgot about that.
Looks exactly like that.
Okay. Well, then no one cares.
Great. Full circle. All right, that's our show. Thanks again for watching the Leatt LVK More Than Moto podcast. Big shout out, of course, to Racetech, Namura, and Partzilla for also backing the show. Big news this week. More news to follow soon. WSX coming up this weekend. Can't wait to tell you guys all about it. And we'll be back next week for more LVK More Than Moto. See you guys.